Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to return the motion before this Honorable House. Realize that we experience significant drift. We experience significant drift, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Parliament has been asked to approve a resolution for a loan in the amount of US $45 million, which is the equivalent of AC $122.3 million for the Caribbean Regional Air Transport Connectivity Project. Mr. Speaker, this is a project funded by the World Bank and is funded under the IDA financing window. 4 countries are beneficiaries under this Caribbean project, including Dominica, 13 million, Grenada, US 17 million, Haiti, 84 million, which is a grant, and St. Lucia, 45 million. A World Bank press release states that, quote, the project for St. Lucia aims to improve operational safety and navigation and enhance the resilience of airport infrastructure to natural disasters. This will include improvements to the runway of the Hiwanura International Airport and its associated facilities such as runway, safety end areas, airfield drainage, and crash and fire rescue facilities. Activities will also include the installation of modernized air navigation systems and institutional strengthening in air traffic control and management, unquote. Mr. Speaker, this very borrowing is indicative of the fact that planlessness is the quintessence of this administration. Over the past 4 years, regarding the airport redevelopment at Hiwanura, we have stated categorically that the airside needed attention. It was not just a terminal building. The parallel taxiway, all of that was discussed in this Honorable House. But they went their merry way. I spoke to them, Mr. Speaker, about a master plan that would inform the scale of investment. They had no master plan. They found an arrangement with the World Bank and they decided to just depart from it very sharply and do their own thing, to go and get a loan. And it's more than 4 years they can't take off. Every time they had salt turning ceremony. Because, Mr. Speaker, this government is just on a path of destruction. Mr. Speaker, this is the 3rd time that this government is coming to this House for a loan for the Hiwanura International Airport. The first time was to seek approval for a government guarantee for a loan to the Air and Seaports Authority in the amount of US $100 million. This was embarrassing, as I understand that the Minister of Finance requested that the loan be a direct loan to SLASPA without a government guarantee. That's why they are insisting in this House that, listen, no matter what arrangement we had, whether it was with the World Bank or any other international institution, we would have to guarantee the loan. But that's not the case, Mr. Speaker, because they were forced to do something that they felt they could have escaped. Mr. Speaker, the Taiwanese, I understood, was adamant that government guarantee the loan as a necessary condition to granting them the loan. The government reluctantly conceded. The loan was then followed by another loan from a syndicate of banks in the amount of $202 million to SLASPA, which was again guaranteed by the government of St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, the government is now coming to this House yet again for another loan in the amount of US $45 million for the Hiwanura International Airport. Mr. Speaker, this begs the question, how many more times will they be coming to Parliament for loans for the Hiwanura Airport redevelopment? Mr. Speaker, had the government come to this House and asked for US $45 million to deal with the airside, outside of the context of all the borrowing and all the magie that they have been doing over the past 4 years, that would be fine. I don't think any member on this side would have objected to the government deciding to build a new technical building, to build a parallel taxiway to address the problems of the runway. They knew that before. When they departed from the arrangement with the World Bank, they knew that, Mr. Speaker. But no, they had to depart from the arrangement to go and get loan and talk about, oh, they are patriotic to St. Lucians. Only when it's convenient. Only when it's convenient. So, we are patriotic when it comes to Hiwandora International Airport, but we are not patriotic when it comes to the OK EU Hospital. The airport is a business. But when you privatize a hospital, the objective is to make profit, to maximize profit. And healthcare would become more expensive in this country. But the airport is a business. But when it's convenient, you talk about how you are so concerned about St. Lucians. You are not so concerned about St. Lucians when this government was giving away our lands to Tiwa King. You didn't know you were patriotic? Giving away our lands to a leech.
Mr. Speaker, I really would hope that after the last intervention, where the member
You're standing on the point of order.
Point of order.
Honorable member.
Misleading the House. Speaker, I am really asking for your serious intervention this time, Mr. Speaker. This continual behavior of members on the other side, making these kinds of insinuations against investors in this country, has to stop. And when he did it last time, Mr. Speaker, it is embarrassing and is causing harm to the reputation of this country. If he doesn't agree with the investment, that is fine. But to make these kinds of personal allegations against ministers, and I don't even want to repeat what he has said, Mr. Speaker, but I am pleading for your intervention to ask the member to desist from making these statements.
What's the allegation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
What's the allegation? I call him a leech. That's not an allegation.
Honorable members, I have said it before and I'll say it again. Members of this House, honorable member, members in this House are free to make certain statements if they do not go outside the realms of what is provided for in our standing orders. And I have spoken to a member, well, through the House, member for library on occasion, and he being a former foreign affairs or minister, and the importance of foreign investment to St. Lucia, that he should be careful with statements he makes because it may have repercussions to our country. Again, I call on the member to be so careful, sir, because you may be hurting St. Lucia in the use of the word leech or calling some foreign investors leeches. In as much as I don't believe that I can stop you from using some words, but I think you should desist from using such words as it is having a negative effect, or it may be having a negative effect on our reputation and our country. And I said that to you before, and I also indicated to you that you were a foreign affairs minister, and according to our constitution, you've been the government in waiting. You may very well find yourself in that same similar position. So I ask again that you choose other words that you could say the same thing depending on what meaning you're trying to express.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know what hurts St. Lucia? When foreign governments assist us with grants, like building an abattoir for tens of millions of dollars, and it must be sacrificed. That is what is spoiling the reputation of this country. And you know, the member from Miku South is so sensitive. But when he stood in the house and called my people mendicants, it was fine. It was fine. You said that we, on the other hand, was encouraging mendicancy. It was fine. It was fine. The member from Miku South can call us all types of names, and it's fine. And I cannot call a leech a leech. I cannot call a spade a spade. And my presentation is being interrupted because the Prime Minister does not like the way I refer to T.O. King. Mr. Speaker, I am not offending against any recognized standards in this Honorable House. I am not offending against parliamentary decency and discipline and decorum. And I know how to speak. I know what to say and what not to say. And you know, Mr. Speaker, during this very difficult moment, when monies were supposed to have been found to help people who have lost their jobs and people who are suffering, we are pumping millions of dollars in removing some garbage dump and relocating Boseju. And you expect me to be happy with that? When $13 million were utilized in building a road to accommodate a truck, and the Majomel Road is in a deplorable condition, and the Kate Road is in a deplorable condition, and the Bellevue Road that got to Zabo cannot reach Bellevue proper, and monies are being utilized to accommodate T.O. King. You expect me to be in a good mood, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And during this very difficult moment, the member for Miku South must appreciate that this airport redevelopment is like a moving target. What is the total cost of the project? What is the total cost of the project? What is it? That's the total cost of the project? No, it's not airport terminal. The entire cost of the project. So you don't know what it is then? Because you have no master plan to inform the scope of works and for you to cost it properly. And some time ago when you came here to borrow the 100 million and again the 202 million, I told the government that they are going to keep on coming because you do not have a total cost for the project. And you have actually moved the terminal building closer to the river. What is the total cost? You guarantee a loan in the first instance, you guarantee another one, and now you're taking a direct loan. It means that the airport financing, you are confused about it. It is not being done in an organized way. Mr. Speaker, the objective, the primary objective of airport financing is to secure sufficient funds to satisfy the requirements of the capital improvement program without borrowing in excess of the amount. And therefore, approaching the financing process in this way will ensure that the project proceeds without interruption as a result of cash flow shortfalls. Every time the Prime Minister goes for Lachet to advance the airport redevelopment, there is no plan. There is absolutely no plan, Mr. Speaker. The Minister for Finance should provide an explanation for that approach. I'm hoping that in his rebuttal and in summing up, he would provide an explanation for that abnormal financing process, Mr. Speaker. It is inconsistent with the approaches others take for financing. I wish to remind this House that the advantages of utilizing the PPP approach were many, including the fact that the risk is fully transferred to the private sector and that there would be no debt reflected on the government books. Mr. Speaker, the approach of this government is to take all the risk of this project, including being liable for all cost overruns. In addition, St. Lucia could have utilized its IDA allocation from the World Bank for more pressing priorities of this country, Mr. Speaker. There are many complications in managing a multi-finance project from different funding agencies. These include, but are not limited to, the varying procurement procedures of these funding agencies and the reporting requirements. It's a bullock that's going on there. We note that there is now a rush, of course, for the government to start work on the airport. A sure sign that the government wants to show the people of St. Lucia that work is progressing after wasting over 4 years doing nothing. If the administration had maintained the approach we had set out for the airport, it would have been completed by now, Mr. Speaker. This is yet another project which is not reflected in the estimates for this year and would have to be brought in by a supplementary budget. It wasn't indicated in the budget at all. And then you come here to borrow US $45 million and said that you had everything under control. When throughout the 4 years, I was saying to the administration that you need a master plan to inform the scope of works. And the S side was extremely important. A casual glance at Iwanora International Airport will reveal that the tower needed some work. We know about the parallel taxiway. We know about lighting. We know about the navigational facilities. We knew all of that. Why have a master plan for a terminal building? Why? And then you say it wasn't included in the original. It means that you did not have a plan. You did not have a proper plan. And then the honorable member for Kaswi Southeast, and I'm going to deal with just a few points he made, a passer. Now those banks who have decided to give the government the loan, they understand what is in the global marketplace with COVID-19, that there is a reduction in global travel. They have witnessed collapse of airlines and reduction in airport revenues projected for the next 3 years. You think a bank, a series of banks, will want to invest in that particular situation at this time? Should that be the priority of the government? To go and borrow so much money for airport redevelopment, where we can allow the World Bank to undertake the development. And you want to borrow? Borrow for us to restart the economy. Borrow for us to educate our people. You go and borrow so much money for an airport that the World Bank could undertake, and then you tell our young people you do not have resources to help them with laptops, help them at Sir Arthur Lewis, and to assist them. And education is vital. Vital, Mr. Speaker. And then we come here and the government is so upset that members of this side are actually advancing logical and cogent arguments to support the posture assumed. Just a few moments ago, I spoke about our debt to GDP situation. Our debt to GDP, using the figures from the Social and Economic Review, the Prime Minister's address, that if GDP falls by 18%, the picture from 5.73 billion in GDP to 4.699 billion, the debt stock from 3.42 billion in 2019 to 3.98 billion, and the debt to GDP ratio moved from 59.6% in 2019 to 84.7% in 2020, and yet still we are undertaking some development, some espoir malpapai development. We do not know how much it costs. It's a moving target at a time when you have to be prudent in your spending. And then your excuse as the Minister for Finance is this. You know, those monies don't come from the consolidated fund. You borrow and you invest in it. You want to borrow to add value to the country at this particular point in time. I'm not saying do not engage in infrastructure. But give up that airport thing alone. Allow the World Bank to undertake the development. You're very happy to march in here and talk about how the World Bank loan is very good. You went to Taiwan for a portion. You went to the banks for another portion. Look, you come in here, World Bank for next portion. Where else you will go? The banks are nervous, even though they have advanced you some type of guarantee that there is approval. No, the Library Credit Union would not invest in such risky business. The Library Cooperative Credit Union would invest in education, in healthcare. That's why during COVID-19, we were able to assist. Like I said last time I was there, $1.3 million in the Laborian economy in patronage refund. We provided machines for our students in terms of laptops and tablets to help them with technology at this point. We fed Laborians and even people outside of the Library constituency into Beaufort South and Beaufort North as members of the Library Cooperative Credit Union. So we are not in any way depending on government as the sole source of survival. And my friend from Kasri Southeast talk about the Ramsahoy report. You know, and I was just writing whilst he was going through the report, quoted specifically saying that public servants who should have been involved in oversight were not involved. Then probably the member for Kasri Southeast and the member for Miku South may be able to tell us which public servants are involved in oversight of the privatization of the Owen King EU hospital. Maybe they can tell us which public servants are involved in oversight of the DSH agreement and many other agreements that are very important to us. So, Mr. Speaker, given the seriousness of the moment, and given that the full impact of COVID-19 has not been felt, and given the fact that we depend on vulnerable sources of revenue, we must exercise due caution in this very turbulent period. We must. And the point is, Mr. Speaker, I do not believe that this administration is prudent in what they are doing. This is a time to divest yourself of that lending, going and look for money everywhere. That's not the purpose of airport financing. And they try to believe that they're more clever than anybody else. Developed countries are going to do the arrangement with the World Bank. Palace, small and vulnerable economies like ours, that is the way to go. Give ourselves the space to build capacity in our respective economies. You go and you insist, even if COVID-19, it reflects an insensitive administration. And what they do, they sit there and laugh at St. Lucians because they are drunk with power.
Honorable member.
They are drunk with
Honorable
power.
member.
They are drunk with
Honorable
power.
member.
Drunk with power is
No.
unparliamentary? Which one?
No. That members opposite
they were
laugh
laughing.
at St. Lucians.
Who they were laughing at?
Honorable member, take this
Okay,
back.
well, you have a different opinion, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
yes, take this one back.
So
Honorable
who they were
member,
laughing at?
take this one back.
So who were you laughing at?
Honorable member,
Mr.
withdraw
Speaker?
the statement.
Mr. Speaker, you know, this
Honorable
matter,
member.
This matter is so simple that I have no problems
Thank
with
you very
withdrawing.
much.
I don't want to
Thank you
engage
very
in no useless debate with you, Mr. Speaker. But like I have said to you before, I know the standing orders of this House. But sometimes you're allergic to things. I will withdraw because that's not the thrust of my argument. And this is not why I come to this House. I come to this House to engage in a back and forth with you. But you see, this administration must stop laughing when serious business of the people are being discussed, and when people are being affected, and when members on this side are articulating on behalf of the people of St. Lucia that are suffering, and they laugh. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. I represent people, I don't represent horses. I represent people, I do not represent horses. And so I am passionate about the things I say on behalf of the people of this country. So stay in your horse section, and I will continue to articulate on behalf of the people of this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.